Your connective tissue remembers every emotional trauma you forgot. This is not just about stiffness. It is how your body translates stress into physical structure. When tension builds in deep fascia, think of those tissues like a living antenna array. They are constantly measuring pressure gradients from the inside out. These subtle strains aren't just random knots. They activate specific mechanoreceptor ion channels that send complex signals up to your brain. This is how emotional states become physically encoded data points, influencing things as fundamental as autonomic nervous system balance and heart rate variability. We used to think feelings happened in the limbic cortex alone, but what if our physical scaffolding, our fascia, is doing most of the deep work? How does a knot in your shoulder actually affect your anxiety? It's not just something you feel, it's chemistry happening deep within the connective tissue. We are now seeing that subtle physical strains act like biological translators, sending critical signals through mechanoreceptor networks directly to your nervous system. Think of fascia as an intricate web of sensors throughout your body, constantly reporting strain data back to your brainstem. This input influences things like vagal tone and how balanced your fight or flight response is. It suggests that the feeling of being stuck isn't just emotional. It's a measurable biological pattern waiting for us to map it precisely. Fascia is not just connective tissue, it's a biological data network. It has tiny receptors acting like language translators, turning what we subjectively feel into objective physical signals. When tension builds in your body that isn't pain, that subtle knot of stress, it creates mechanical strain on these cells. This strain acts as a broadcast signal. Think of the fascia as an ultrasensitive wiring grid for your whole system. A snag tells your brain something far deeper than stiffness. It modulates your autonomic nervous system, shifting from flight mode to calm mode through deep microcirculatory changes and specific cellular responses. We are seeing real evidence that this movement creates synchronized firing between our feeling centers and our sensory cortexes, a kind of internal harmony driven by tissue feedback. But if physical strain is the translator, which means something nobody expected for how quickly we can rewire deeply held emotional patterns. Imagine your connective tissue isn't just scaffolding, it's a biological translator converting subtle physical strain into pure neurological data. It is like having millions of tiny tuning forks resonating inside you and feeding that exact vibration straight up to the limbic system. This deep feedback loop modulates vagal tone, the brake pedal on stress, by activating mechanosensitive ion channels in your fascia. The science shows this coordinated firing can induce measurable gamma band synchronization across your entire cortex, promoting actual neuroplastic change. But is tissue input even strong enough? Some critical reviews challenge whether these subtle signals can override deeply etched trauma memories or rigid epigenetic programming, leaving the true source of dysregulation still hidden somewhere else, and you have to hear what they found next. It's more than just feeling tight in your shoulders. It's about deep tissue acting like an electrical translator. Your fascia isn't passive scaffolding, it's riddled with tiny, hypersensitive sensors, mechanoreceptors, that are reading stress levels at a cellular level. They take that subtle stretch or tension and translate it into neural signals. Think of them as biological antennae picking up environmental chaos. This input then doesn't just travel to your brain for awareness. It directly modulates the deep autonomic nervous system, swinging you toward calm or panic. The receptor fires in response to strain. But what happens next is where everything changes, because that subtle signal dictates how regulated your entire internal world truly becomes. We always thought somatic experience was just about physical discomfort or injury, a localized problem in a stiff muscle band. But imagine if that tension isn't merely tissue stress, but rather like biological hard drive storage. What if the strain patterns held by your connective tissues are actually mirroring signals from parts of your brain you never knew were talking? We're not just feeling tightness. We might be sensing coded information. It turns out these microscopic changes in fascia can directly influence how calm or panicked our nervous system is, through processes like mechanosensitive ion channels acting as biological interpreters. But if the body is storing emotional maps right there in the collagen, what happens when those patterns start to misfire? We've been tracking how subtle changes in your body translate to profound shifts in mind state. Think of fascia not just as connective tissue, but like a physical language translator between deep stress and nervous system chatter. When you hold tension, that tight knot in your shoulder or hip, it's more than discomfort. It is somatic evidence that the autonomic nervous system is stuck on high alert. The good news? Movement acts as the key to rewrite the story. By intentionally modulating fascial strain, we guide coherent oscillations across those sensory and cortical centers. Try finding one point of sustained tension today, breathe into it, and allow microcirculatory changes to signal safety back up through your spine. This focused attention on felt sensation is neuroplasticity in action. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com. We have learned that your body is not just an object, it's a dynamic communication network, constantly translating stress into physical patterns. Think of your connective tissue as an intricate biological antenna receiving signals from everything, from deep emotional history to daily tension. When you pause and intentionally soften these areas, you are actively tuning the system itself, guiding coherent information right back to your nervous system. This isn't just relaxation, it is neuroplastic restructuring in action. Start small. Find 5 minutes today for conscious stillness, paying absolute attention to where tightness sits. That tiny observation initiates profound biological change. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com.